Rhea Mendoza had always believed the scariest part of an urban legend was the empty space where proof should be. It was the gap listeners filled with their own fears, the same gap that kept her podcast, Veil Splitter, in the top 10 of every true mystery chart. Week after week, she turned rumor into narrative. The phantom hitchhiker who knew your name. The locked room asylum that still rang with unseen laughter. The blind bus driver who delivered passengers to roads that didn't exist on any map. She told stories as though she were a skeptic, politely detached, amused by superstition, yet she spent most nights in municipal archives and mold-scented libraries, convincing herself something real still beat beneath each myth. What she never expected was to become one. The new season was supposed to be easy. Urban legends of the inland Northwest offered small-town color without the West Coast competition of cryptid hunters and UFO memorabilia dealers. The story arc would begin with the Spokane River drownings, supposedly the work of a creature locals called the Pike King, then broaden into cursed railroad tunnels and ghostly lumberjacks. 2 months of research, 6 tightly scripted episodes, and she'd be free to pitch herself at a national radio network. During her first week in Spokane, Rhea rented an attic apartment above a shuttered salon. Thin floorboards, skylight windows, radiator heat that clanged like pipes full of ball bearings. Perfect ambience for late-night writing. She set up her mic and portable sound panels in the closet, lugged in boxes of case files, and pinned a wall-to-wall timeline of drownings on butcher paper. By day, she interviewed witnesses. By night, she organized clips, cross-checked details, and built an outline that would become episode 1. The first rewrite happened the evening before her self-imposed script deadline. At midnight, she pressed export on the scratch track. Jan laughed at her waveform like a proud parent and shuffled to the bathroom. 5 minutes at the sink, one scroll through social media, and she was back at her desk to drag the MP3 into a cloud folder. The notes window was open. She froze. Her bulleted outline was gone, replaced by a single paragraph typed in her own format. Same font, same left-aligned indentation. I, Rhea Ann Mendoza, do hereby confess that on the night of June 12, 1999, I pushed Miles Peterson from the Riverside Drive footbridge. I watched his body disappear into the spillway. I cut the shoelaces from his sneakers as a souvenir. She read the paragraph 3 times, waiting for the prank to reveal itself. She lived alone, had no interns here, and kept the attic door double-locked. More importantly, she had been 11 years old in 1999, still in a suburb outside Phoenix, too afraid of breaking curfew to cross a street, much less push a man off a bridge in Washington state. A quick look at the document history showed no edits. The file had not been uploaded or shared. She checked her laptop's access logs. Nothing since her own login that afternoon. The only anomaly was the timestamp of the last save, 11:58 p.m., while she was still in the room, setting levels. She closed the laptop as if it emitted radiation. The radiator rumbled. A plumbing pipe somewhere hissed and popped. She exhaled, opened the lid again, and rewound her screen recorder. She ran the app so she could generate behind-the-scenes content. The feed jumped from her face, reading the outline to a black screen for 6 seconds, then resumed exactly where she'd left off, with her still in front of the camera, outline unchanged. No moment when phantom keys clacked, no silhouette stepping behind her. Rhea highlighted the confession and hit delete. She restored the outline from a backup, saved it under a new name, shut the laptop for the night, and spent an hour coaxing herself towards sleep. The radiator clanged. The wind elbowed the skylight. She dreamed of water brushing the underside of a wooden bridge and of sneakers with their laces missing. In the morning, the incident felt cheap, like an anxiety hallucination. She dressed, found a bakery, and recorded a location segment by the river. A homeless man pointed at the water and told her monsters ate alone. She thanked him for the quote and tipped him $10. By sundown, she was back in front of her desk, layering new audio over yesterday's structure. She finished the episode near midnight again, and saved. Again she left for the bathroom. Again she returned to text that wasn't hers. I, Rhea Ann Mendoza, confess. I tied cinder blocks to the feet of Howard Ling outside Barnaby's Tavern on August 3, 2004, and rolled him from the pier. This time she believed less in coincidence. She inspected every board and nail of the doorframe, flipped the mattress, and checked for crawlspace hatches. Nothing. She still didn't call the police. They would ask why she rented an apartment labeled closed for violations by the city, why she researched drownings until 3 a.m., why she had no proof of intrusion except spiraling paranoia. She restored a second backup file. Then, curious, she opened a blank document and typed, "Who are you?" She fell asleep at the keyboard. When she blinked awake, dawn bruised the skylight. The question mark she'd typed remained, but beneath it stood a reply, "Let it in." Her next instinct was to run. But leaving meant conceding she had no control over her own life or her recordings, and loss of control was not the reputation a network wanted in a host. On day 3, she installed door sensors, wedged a metal rod against the doorknob, set a wireless camera above her desk, and ran a second cam from a tripod by the closet. She created a brand new project file, typed 10 random words, and stared until her eyes watered. At 12:12, even the cursor began to move. The keyboard didn't depress, nor did the recorded cams show hands. Only the documents scrolled. Letters dropped one after another, as though gravity tugged them from an unseen ceiling. "I confess I pierced the lower legs of Jacqueline Ruiz and draped her off the trestle bridge for the train to take. October 9, 2011. The steel sang when the locomotive bowed to her. The door sensors stayed silent. The tripod cam recorded nothing except Rhea herself, rooted in her chair, bones humming. She watched lines appear, heard no keystroke, smelled lake water and rust, until the memory of drowning victims bled so thick into the scene that she gagged. Then the page went still. As soon as she could swallow, she typed, "Why?" After a pause long enough for her to believe the intruder gone, 5 words winked into existence. "Because you lend me voice." Rhea stood, detached the SD card from the tripod cam, and played it back, she herself gazing at the screen, while the typed words reflected on her pupils. She skipped ahead. Frame by frame she looked for distortion, but the gaps only confirmed silence. The chair arms held her shape like a coffin sized for the living. She called her editor in New York. "Sloan," she whispered, "tell me you sent someone. Tell me you hacked my docs." Sloan's laugh fizzed through the speaker. "What would I gain besides a lawsuit? Look, your new regionals are trending. Breathe. Take a break before you bury yourself in that Spokane sinkhole." "I'm fine," she lied, "just overthinking." The call ended. The radiator sighed like it understood better than Sloan. 4 days later, the confessions weren't limited to post-midnight rewrites. She would watch an interview playback, blink, and find captions overwritten mid-sentence. She'd tape pages to the wall, ink faded and repopulated with crimes she'd never witnessed. The only constant was water. Every murder involved rivers, lakes, irrigation canals, or the deep guts of storm drains. She cataloged them. 13 names so far, all unsolved. All deaths attributed to misadventure. She searched coroner reports for matching injuries. Each matched. She searched bulletins for a suspect. There'd never been one. If she could prove the confessions were accurate, even faked, she might leverage the story into explosive ratings. The important thing was to control the reveal. So Rhea produced episode 1 exactly as planned, minus the new paragraphs. As soon as it dropped, downloads spiked. Listeners called the hotline. "Love the new arc, but could you clarify details about Miles Peterson? I can't find him on Google." Someone had heard her read his name in a Patreon livestream 3 nights before. She didn't remember reading it. Playback of the livestream showed her nodding along to chat questions, mic inches from her lips. At timecode 4317, she said, "Let's talk about Miles Peterson," and launched into a precise description of the 1999 footbridge death, water level, angle of impact, and how the shoelaces might have floated free. 49 seconds total. A detail-rich digression delivered with clinical calm. Her own eyes on camera looked wrong, pupils too wide. a smear of glaze across the cornea like someone had set her sight to standby mode. After that moment, she resumed her normal rhythm, never referred to Peterson again. The chat box overflowed with, "Who's Miles?" which she breezed past. She tried to remember those 49 seconds, tried to sense a seizure, a fugue state, but the memory was blank, as though the lights cut out behind her own face. Rhea pulled the episode, claiming an audio corruption glitch. Then she booked an interview with a retired homicide detective named Greenwood, who had worked the Riverside death of Jacqueline Ruiz. She packed her mics, pressed record at his kitchen table, and asked about the possibility of a serial killer. Greenwood shocked her by nodding. "Jackie's mother swore there was foul play," he said. "County said drowning, no footprints found, but I saw the puncture wounds, parallel, low on the tibia, like hooks. Doesn't line up with river debris. I argued too much, got shuffled to a desk, can't prove somebody strung her up." "Could a woman have done it?" she asked, forcing casual tone. "Your age, maybe. Strength's in the leverage, not the heft." She disconnected her recorder and lifted her coffee. The steam thinned between them, a ghost losing shape. Greenwood glanced at her sleeve, at the river moon threads of her sweater, and said, "You know what color she was wearing when we pulled her out? Same blue. I can't see that shade without smelling algae." On her drive to the attic, she spoke into her pocket recorder. Interview analysis, narrative notes, narrative mental pep talk, not meant for publication. He tucked the pieces into his pocket. "You," she said, "not a..." Later, reviewing the tape, she discovered gaps in her voice. Mid-sentence, she broke off, and another tone slipped in, softer, almost hypnotic. "I watched you cut her loose, Jackie, let you fall on the tracks like pennies. Could hear the wheels nick sparks off the railheads." She hurled the recorder against the radiator. The metal rocked and the hiss inside stopped. For the first time in days, the apartment felt totally silent. The gap felt infinite. She drafted an email to Sloan. "Emergency. My notes keep rewriting with confessions. They're accurate. I think I'm the conduit for the killer." She hovered over send. Career suicide or the only lifeline? Her monitor blacked out. Lines of white text scrolled. "They will not believe you. Only your listeners will." The lock on the door clicked, though no key turned. She spun, heart-punching ribs, and watched the doorknob rotate until the latch drew in. The door swung inward, bumping the metal rod aside like a scolded pet. Beyond the threshold was not the hallway staircase, but midnight water-lapping pilings. A wooden bridge crossed left to right, decks slick with moss. On the far bank, cattails bowed to moonlight. Rhea backed away, breath stuttering. The window behind her desk reflected the scene more clearly than the room it belonged to. Her laptop chimed, a new section typed itself. "Step inside and finish the story." She closed her eyes. "No," she whispered, "I won't." But her realtor's voice from the week she signed the lease floated back, closed for code violations, specifically water damage. Salt streaks in the drywall on the first floor. The building had flooded last spring when a water main burst beneath Riverside Avenue. She whispered again, shaping the word as if it might shield her. "No." The hiss in the radiator returned. A gust slammed the door shut on the river illusion, and when she opened her eyes, the hallway was back. But her laptop page displayed a new confession. "I drowned Rhea Mendoza, November 14, 2023. She went willingly, carrying my words." She snatched her phone, hit record on the memo app, and read the line aloud, timestamping it. Then she stuffed gear into her backpack: hard drives, interview SD cards, the tripod camera. She bolted downstairs to the sidewalk, gulping air that felt heavier than water. A drunk outside the off-license watched her flee. 3 blocks later, she ducked into a 24-hour coffee shop. Neon lights painted her trembling hands. She ordered espresso and plugged her laptop into an outlet. It booted to the same document. She deleted the confession, added a new paragraph. "I do not consent. You cannot use me. Leave." Nothing answered. Relief pooled through her until she realized the restroom door in the back of the cafe was flickering with an odd brightness, like sunlight bouncing off waves. She slammed the laptop shut. At 4 a.m., she reached the public library. There, among silent shelves, she opened microfilm of old police reports. Peterson, Miles, no suspect, presumed suicide, body never recovered. Ruiz, Jacqueline, drowning, unknown cause. Ling, Howard, missing, possible boating accident. All cases exhibited the same missing evidence: footprints, DNA, eyewitnesses. As if the killer slipped through matter itself. At 6 a.m. she emailed Sloan again, this time attaching audio of Greenwood, the typed confessions, the live stream clip, her phone memos. Subject: the story we never wanted. She didn't expect to be believed, but at least she would be listened to. By noon, her phone buzzed. Sloan's voice cracked through the speaker. Is this performance art? If so, brilliant. If not, Christ, Rhea, where are you? Downtown library? I'm safe. Good. Stay on the line. We'll call Spokane PD, request a welfare check. Don't move. Yes, thank you. Tears pricked her eyes. She felt the first thread of rescue unfurl. She hung up, stared at her laptop. The document remained unchanged. No new confession, no invitation. Maybe exposure weakened whatever held her. Maybe a bleached, well-lit public space made it powerless. She closed the file, opened a fresh doc. She typed, "True account of the inland Northwest River killer." She wrote for 4 hours, every detail, every phenomenon, cross-referenced with coroner data. When she finished, she hit save. The library clock ticked 3:48 p.m. She emailed the file to Sloan, to 2 other journalist friends, to herself. An error message flashed. Recipient not found. Network okay. She tried again. Same error. She copied the text, pasted it in a new email. This time the reply arrived before she hit send. Body, do not. Her contacts list emptied, names erased. Only one address remained, the show's listener inbox. For one wavering minute, Rhea stared at the send button. The inbox reached hundreds of thousands. If she broadcast her evidence there, the killer's voice might hitchhike along. Across the reading room, fluorescent tubes buzzed and went dim. A ripple shimmered along the linoleum, like current hugging the riverbed. The radiator beneath the nearest window. Why did a library radiator run so late into spring? Hissed the scent of algae and cold iron. Cordy keys under her fingers turned slick with condensation. She remembered the door in the apartment opening onto water. Remembered her own eyes glazing in the live stream, mouth speaking crimes she did not commit. Because you lend me voice. No, she would not. She selected all, pressed Manito. Text vanished. She yanked the battery, severing power, screen dark. Outside the window, afternoon sun stroked the street. Cars idled, people strolled, newsboys nothing but a memory. The world spun, ignorant of rivers waiting beneath. Rhea drew a breath, held it. The hiss faded. Light steadied. She walked to the circulation desk and asked for a permanent marker. On a blank index card, she wrote by hand in capital letters, "I will not speak for you." She slipped the card into her bag beside the hard drives. Then she returned the laptop to its case, leaving it powered down. If it required circuitry to haunt her, she granted none. That evening, she checked into a motel 2 towns over. She left her devices locked in the car. In her room, she found a used spiral notebook in the nightstand drawer and began writing longhand. Pages of actual ink, no electricity. Every few lines she paused and listened for the low roll of water, but only traffic murmured beyond the curtains. She drafted the new episode wholly analog, weaving Greenwood's testimony with public records. No confessions, no shapes stepping through doors. Before sleep, she pictured the show notes back in the attic, flickering beneath phantom keystrokes, an unseen presence frustrated by its sudden muteness. The motel air conditioner rattled. Somewhere pipes clanged, and she flinched, until she recognized the sound as ordinary, mechanical, a clamor that belonged to a building, not a river. She sank into the mattress and let her eyes close. In the pocket of her coat, the capped marker pressed her ribs like a stubborn heartbeat. She focused on that pulse, and on the vow written in thick black ink, holding it like a talisman against the dark. If silence was the price, she would learn to make silence sing.